They mocked the farmer for washing the fly-covered alien girl in his home. What followed shut them up. On this quiet edge world, days passed slowly, marked only by the hum of irrigation lines and the soft movement of grain in the wind. Elias Mercer had lived alone for years, ever since the last transport ship stopped coming regularly. Most people preferred cities, stations, noise. Elias preferred soil under his boots and silence that let him think. He finished his morning routine and stepped outside, the air cool and clean. The twin moons were fading from the sky when he noticed something unusual near the far irrigation ditch. At first he thought it was a dead animal. That happened sometimes. But then it moved. Elias froze. Whatever lay there was small, too small for livestock. And the movement was wrong, slow, weak, like something trying very hard not to die. He walked closer, boots crunching softly in the dirt. The smell reached him before he saw clearly. Blood, infection, rot. Flies rose in a cloud as he approached, thick and buzzing, covering a small shape curled in the mud. Elias felt his chest tighten. It was a girl. At least it looked like one. Humanoid but not human. Her skin had a pale blue-gray tone, cracked and dry. Her clothes were torn, barely holding together, and her breathing was shallow and uneven. Flies crawled over her face, her arms, her wounds. She should have been dead. Elias did not stop to think about what species she was. He did not think about rumors or laws or what the settlement council would say. He knelt down, gently waving the flies away with his hat. Her eyes opened slightly. They were silver. She made a weak sound, not quite a word, and her fingers twitched in the dirt. "That's all right," Elias said softly, his voice rough from years of little use. "You're not alone." He lifted her carefully. She was lighter than she looked, too light. Her body was hot with fever. Flies clung stubbornly, and blood stained his shirt as he carried her back toward his house. By the time he reached the porch, his arms were shaking. Inside, he laid her in the wash basin near the kitchen, the largest clean surface he had. He filled buckets with warm water, moving slowly, carefully. He spoke to her the entire time, even though he was not sure she understood. He washed the dirt away first, then the blood, then the insects. The flies kept coming back, but he chased them away again and again. He cleaned her wounds with what medical supplies he still had, old but usable. The injuries were bad burns, cuts, signs of restraint. Someone had hurt her badly. When he finally finished, the girl looked less like something abandoned and more like someone who might live. Elias wrapped her in clean cloth and set her on his spare bed. He sat nearby all night, listening to her breathing, ready to act if it stopped. By morning, word had spread. The settlement was small and nothing interesting ever happened. So when a farmer was seen carrying an alien into his home, people noticed. They whispered at first, then talked openly. By midday, laughter followed the whispers. "Did you hear?" one man said at the supply depot. "Mercer dragged some bug-covered alien into his house." "Probably caught a disease," another replied, shaking his head. "Or worse. They say her kind is dangerous," someone added. "Stronger than humans, smarter too. And he's washing her like a child," a woman said with a laugh. "As if that won't bring trouble down on all of us." The council sent a message. Elias ignored it. By the afternoon, 2 neighbors came to his door. They did not step inside. "You need to hand her over," one of them said. "This isn't safe." "She needs help," Elias replied simply. "That thing could get us all killed," the other snapped. "Off-world species don't just show up here by accident." Elias stood in the doorway, blocking their view inside. His face was calm, but his voice was firm. "She was dying. I won't throw her out." They left angry. Inside, the girl stirred. Her fever had broken slightly, though she was still weak. She opened her eyes again, more clearly this time, and looked around in confusion. Elias brought her water. She struggled, then drank. "You're safe," he said, "for now." She studied him. Her expression was wary, frightened, but also confused. Slowly she spoke, her voice soft and broken, her words carefully shaped in basic trade language. "Why help?" Elias did not hesitate, because someone needed it. She seemed unsettled by that answer. Her people did not work that way. She tried to sit up and failed. Elias gently stopped her. Rest. You've been hurt. Her eyes closed again, but before sleep claimed her, she whispered something under her breath in a language he did not understand. A phrase she had been taught since birth. Humans do not give without reason. She slept. That night lights appeared in the sky. High above the planet, far beyond the settlement's weak sensors, ships dropped from faster-than-light travel. Not one, not two, dozens. Massive shapes that blocked the stars as they moved into position. The systems scanned the planet. They found her. On the ground, Elias slept in a chair beside the bed, unaware that the quiet world he lived on had just become the center of attention for a civilization that did not forgive easily. The girl dreamed. She remembered falling, the ambush, the pain, the shame. She remembered believing she would die alone on a foreign world forgotten. Instead, she remembered warm water, gentle hands, a voice that did not demand, threaten, or bargain. That frightened her more than the pain ever had. When she woke again, the house was silent. Elias was outside, feeding animals as if nothing in the universe had changed. The mocking laughter in the settlement continued. For now, the morning after the lights appeared in the sky, the settlement woke uneasy. People stood outside their homes longer than usual, staring upward even though the ships were too high to see clearly. The sensors confirmed what everyone feared. A fleet had arrived. Not human, not small. Elias noticed the change before anyone spoke to him. The animals were restless. Birds avoided the sky. The air itself felt heavy, as if the world was holding its breath. Inside the house, the alien girl was awake. She sat upright for the first time, moving slowly, carefully. Her body still hurt, but the pain was no longer overwhelming. Clean bandages wrapped her arms and side. The fever had faded, leaving exhaustion behind. She listened. The house was quiet, simple, filled with unfamiliar smells: food, soil, metal, old wood. It was not a place of control or ceremony. No guards, no restraints. That confused her. She rose from the bed, unsteady on her feet, and made her way to the window. Outside, she saw the human farmer moving through his daily work, feeding animals, checking lines, calm, as if no fleet hovered above his world. She did not understand him. Her people believed kindness was always a tool, a way to gain advantage, a way to trap. But this human had asked for nothing, had not even demanded her name. Elias entered quietly, carrying food. He stopped when he saw her standing. "You shouldn't be up yet," he said. "I am able," she replied carefully. He nodded and set the food down. "Eat. You'll need strength." She hesitated. "You are not afraid." He thought about that for a moment. "I am," he said honestly. "But not enough to leave you hurt." That answer stayed with her long after he stepped outside again. In the settlement, fear turned sharp. People argued openly now. They blamed Elias. They blamed each other. They demanded action. "She brought this," one man shouted in the common square. "We all saw the ships. We need to give her up," another said. "Before they decide we're enemies." The council sent another message to Elias. This one was not polite. He ignored it again. By afternoon, a patrol vehicle stopped outside his farm. 3 council members stepped out, stiff and nervous. "You are putting us all at risk," the lead counselor said. "That alien is not your responsibility." "She is hurt," Elias replied. "That makes her everyone's responsibility." "You don't understand what her kind does," another snapped. "They don't forget, they don't forgive." Elias looked past them toward the fields. "Neither do humans," he said quietly. They left angry and afraid. High above, the fleet finished its scan. They saw the settlement, the farms, the power signatures, the smallness of it all. They saw her location. On the command vessel, elders and commanders watched the recordings from her personal device. The footage showed blurred pain, then darkness, then something unexpected: gentle hands, water washing away blood and insects, A human voice, calm and steady, no demands, no restraints. The chamber fell silent. This was not how lesser species behaved. Orders were adjusted. Back on the ground, the girl finally spoke of who she was. She waited until evening when Elias sat at the table repairing a tool. "If they find me here," she said softly, "they will not be kind." "They already found you," Elias replied. Her eyes widened slightly. "You know." "I saw the lights." She lowered her gaze. "My people are watching, they will judge." "Then let them," he said. "I won't change what I did." She studied him, searching for deception. She found none. In the settlement, sensors screamed. A single ship detached from the fleet and descended into the atmosphere. It did not attack. It did not broadcast threats. It simply came down. Panic followed. People ran. Some packed bags, some prayed. Some cursed Elias Mercer's name. The ship stopped outside the settlement, casting a long shadow. A message went out across every channel. "We seek the one who sheltered our child." Silence followed. All eyes turned toward the farm. Elias heard the engines before he saw the ship. He stood on his porch, hands empty, shoulders relaxed. The girl joined him. "You do not have to stand with me," he said. "I do," she replied. The ship's ramp lowered. Tall figures stepped out, armored, controlled, powerful. They stopped several meters away. Their leader spoke, voice echoing without effort. "Human farmer, why did you interfere?" Elias answered simply, "Because she was dying." The leader studied him for a long moment. The girl stepped forward. "He showed mercy," she said clearly, "without command, without reward." That caused movement among them. Mercy without reason was rare. The leader turned back to Elias. "You protected what was vulnerable." "Yes." "Even knowing the cost." "Yes." The leader nodded once. "Then hear this." The voice carried across the settlement. "This human acted in accordance with our highest law," gasps spread. "She lives because of him," the leader continued. "This world stands because of him." The mocking laughter died instantly. The fleet did not fire, it waited. And for the first time, the settlement understood that something far greater than fear had just arrived. The settlement did not know how to breathe anymore. After the alien leader spoke, no one moved. No one spoke. Even the wind seemed quieter, as if the world itself was listening. Elias stood on his porch with the girl beside him, both of them small figures facing something far larger than fear. The alien leader raised one hand. The soldiers behind him remained still, weapons lowered but ready. His gaze never left Elias. "You will come with us," the leader said. A murmur spread through the settlement. Some people felt relief, others felt dread. Elias nodded once. "If that's what you need." The girl turned to him sharply. "No, you did nothing wrong." The leader's eyes shifted to her. "That is not yet decided." Elias looked down at her. "It's all right," he said gently. "I won't run." That confused her again. Humans were not supposed to be like this. They were supposed to bargain, to beg, to hide. Elias simply walked forward. The soldiers escorted him toward the ship, their movements precise and controlled. The settlement watched in silence as the farmer they once mocked stepped onto the ramp without chains, without fear. Inside the ship, the air was cool and sterile. Lights followed Elias as he moved, scanning him from every angle. The girl walked beside him, her posture straighter now, though weakness still lingered. They entered a large chamber. Other aliens waited there, elders, scholars, commanders, their eyes fixed on Elias, curious and sharp. "This is the human," one of them said, "the one who intervened." Elias stood calmly. His hands were empty, his heart beat steady. "Why?" an elder asked. "Why did you risk yourself?" Elias thought for a moment. "I didn't think of it as risk," he said. "I saw someone hurt, that was enough." A ripple of quiet spread through the chamber. "That answer makes no sense," another said. Elias shrugged slightly. "It doesn't have to." The girl stepped forward. "He treated me as a person," she said. "Not as power, not as leverage." That mattered. Her people valued strength, order, protection of the weak, but always through structure, always through command. What Elias had done came from nowhere. No order. No benefit, an elder leaned forward. Do humans often behave this way? Elias smiled faintly. Sometimes, not always, but enough. That answer caused more discussion than any lie would have. While the council debated, the settlement below waited in fear. Hours passed. No attack came. The fleet remained silent, unmoving. Some people began to realize something was wrong with their assumptions. Back on the ship, the leader returned. "We have reviewed the evidence," he said. "The recordings, the actions, the intent." Elias listened quietly. "You violated no law," the leader continued. "You acted within our highest principle." The girl exhaled slowly. "However," the leader added, "your settlement did not." That caused a shift in the room. "They mocked," the leader said. "They threatened. They attempted to surrender one of our own while she was wounded." Elias frowned. "They were afraid." "So were you," the leader replied. "Yet you acted differently." Silence followed. "We will not punish them," the leader said at last, "but they will learn." The girl looked at Elias. "What does that mean?" "It means," the leader said, "they will remember this moment for generations." The leader turned back to Elias. "You will return home." Elias blinked. "That's it. For you," the leader said. "Yes." They escorted him back to the surface. When Elias stepped off the ship, the settlement stood frozen. No one spoke. No one laughed. The girl followed him. The leader addressed the settlement. "This human has altered how we see your species." People lowered their heads. "From this moment," the leader said, "humanity is no longer categorized as unpredictable. You are interesting." That was not an insult. The fleet began to move. The ship lifted off and returned to orbit. Elias walked back to his house. The girl stayed. That night the settlement was silent. No mocking, no laughter, only the sound of people thinking about what they had witnessed. And for the first time, they understood that a simple act of kindness had reached the stars. If you want, I can continue with part 4, where the long-term consequences begin and humanity's reputation truly changes. The days after the fleet pulled back were stranger than the days of fear. Life in the settlement did not return to normal, because normal no longer existed. People woke up each morning expecting alarms, orders, or demands from the sky. None came. The ships remained in orbit, distant and silent like patient watchers. Elias went back to his routine. He woke early. He fed the animals. He checked the irrigation lines. The soil still needed care, no matter what had changed in the stars. But the quiet around him felt different now. Heavy, observed. The girl stayed in his home. She recovered slowly, her strength returning day by day. Her movements grew steadier, her breathing even. She helped where she could, learning the simple rhythms of the farm. She asked questions about plants, tools, seasons. Elias answered when he could. They did not speak much about what had happened. The settlement, however, spoke of nothing else. People avoided Elias at first. Not out of anger, but shame. The mocking laughter they once shared now burned in their memories. Some crossed the street when they saw him. Others watched from a distance, unsure what to say to the man who had stood before a fleet without fear. Then one afternoon, a child approached the farm gate. She was small, clutching a bundle of cloth in her hands. Elias noticed her standing there and walked over. "Yes?" he asked gently. The girl held out the bundle. Inside were fresh vegetables, carefully cleaned. "My mother said to say thank you." Elias nodded and accepted them. "Tell her thank you as well." The child smiled and ran back toward the settlement. After that more came: food, tools, quiet apologies spoken without eye contact. Elias accepted them all not because he needed them, but because refusing would make it harder for the people trying to change. The girl watched this with deep interest. "Your people feel guilt," she said one evening. "They feel human," Elias replied. She considered that. High above, the fleet observed everything. They saw the small gestures, the changes in behavior, the absence of resentment from Elias. This mattered. Within the alien civilization, discussion spread quickly. Records of the farmers' actions were shared far beyond the fleet. Scholars argued, leaders debated. One question repeated again and again. How had a species so divided produced someone like him? Back on the planet, the girl finally told Elias who she truly was. She was not just important. She was next in line to shape policy for her people's expansion beyond their borders. Her survival would influence centuries of decision-making. "You changed more than you know," she told him quietly. Elias sighed. "I just cleaned wounds." She shook her head. "You showed who you are when no one was watching." That to her people was everything. The settlement council came to Elias together this time. They did not demand, they did not threaten, they asked. "We want to apologize," the lead counselor said. "We failed." Elias listened. "We want to do better," the counselor continued. "And we want your help." Elias hesitated. "I'm just a farmer." "Exactly," the counselor replied. That night the girl contacted her people. She stood outside under the stars, her communicator glowing softly. Elias watched from a distance. "They are changing," she told the elders. "Not because they were forced, because they saw." There was silence on the other end, then a response. "Then we will respond in kind." The next morning ships descended again. This time no panic followed. The leader addressed the settlement once more. "We will establish peaceful contact," he said. "Trade, learning, protection." Gasps spread through the crowd. "This world will be watched," the leader continued. "Not as a threat, as a partner." Eyes turned to Elias. The leader faced him. "You will serve as our point of trust." Elias blinked. "I didn't ask for that." "You earned it," the leader replied. The girl stepped forward. "I will remain here for a time," she said, "to learn." The settlement changed rapidly after that. Technology arrived, but carefully, respectfully. Medical tools, weather stabilizers, learning systems, not gifts meant to control, but tools offered freely. And always Elias was consulted. He did not rule, he advised. He reminded everyone, human and alien alike, that power without compassion was empty. Some people still struggled. Fear did not vanish overnight, but it no longer ruled them. The mocking voices were gone. In their place was something quieter: respect. Elias often stood in his fields at dusk, watching the sky where ships now moved openly. The girl would stand beside him. "You could have been anyone," she said once. Elias smiled faintly. "I was just the one who was there." Above them, the stars watched. And for the first time in a long time, they watched humanity with interest, not judgment. The first anniversary of the fleet's arrival came quietly. No alarms sounded. No ships filled the sky in threatening lines. Instead, the settlement woke to a clear morning and a soft hum from the new weather stabilizers that kept storms away from the crops. Life had changed, but it had not become loud or frightening. It had become steady. Elias woke before dawn, as always. He sat on the edge of his bed for a moment, listening to the familiar sounds of the farm. Animals shifting. Wind brushing the fields. Somewhere in the house, the alien girl, no longer weak, no longer afraid, was already awake. She had chosen a human name for herself. Not because she needed one, but because she wanted one that fit this place. She moved through the kitchen, preparing simple food, her movements confident now. When Elias entered, she looked up and smiled. "You are late," she said. "Only by a minute," he replied. They ate together in comfortable silence. Outside, the settlement prepared for the gathering. It was not a celebration in the loud sense. No banners, no music, just people coming together to remember the day everything had changed. A year ago, they had mocked a farmer. Now they waited for him. Elias did not like attention. He never had. But he understood that this was not really about him. It was about what people had learned from watching him do nothing special at all. They walked together toward the common square. Humans and aliens stood side by side now, not as rulers and subjects, but as neighbors. Children played without fear. Trade moved freely. Knowledge flowed both ways. The alien leader stood near the edge of the crowd, observing quietly. His people had changed too. Contact with humans had not weakened them as some had feared. It had challenged them. Elias stepped forward when asked, hands clasped, shoulders slightly hunched. He looked uncomfortable. "I don't have much to say," he began. Some people smiled. "I didn't plan any of this," he continued. "I didn't want attention, I didn't want power, I still don't." He paused, searching for the right words. "I saw someone hurt, I helped, that's it." The crowd listened closely. "If there's anything to remember," Elias said, "it's this. The universe is big, bigger than fear, bigger than rumors, bigger than what we think we know about each other." He glanced at the girl beside him. "We decide who we are when no one is forcing us to choose." He stepped back. That was enough. The alien leader spoke next, his voice calm and clear. "This world is now recorded in our history," he said, "not as a conquest, not as a warning, but as an example." He looked at Elias. Humanity was judged not by its weapons, but by its quiet choices. That mattered more than any treaty. As the gathering ended, life resumed. People returned to work. Ships lifted and landed with ease. The extraordinary had become normal. Later that day, Elias returned to his fields. He worked as he always had, hands in the soil, boots worn, back aching in familiar ways. The girl joined him, helping with tasks she had learned over months. "You could have left," she said quietly, "after everything." "So could you," Elias replied. She nodded. "But I stayed because I wanted to understand." "And?" he asked. She smiled. "I think I do." That evening, a message arrived from beyond the system. Another species had encountered humans for the first time. They were cautious, nervous, unsure. They had heard a story, not of war, not of dominance, but of a farmer. The alien council requested advice. Elias read the message, then set it aside. "They're asking me what humans are like," he said. The girl tilted her head. "What will you tell them?" Elias looked out at the fields, at the simple life he had never wanted to leave. "I'll tell them the truth," he said. "That we're complicated, that we fail, that we argue." "And?" she asked. "And that sometimes," Elias continued, "we see someone hurting and we help. Even when it scares us." She nodded slowly. "That will change things," she said. "It already has," he replied. In the years that followed, the story spread, not as legend, not exaggerated, not polished, just told plainly. A human farmer found an injured alien girl covered in flies. He washed her. He fed her. He asked nothing. That simple act reshaped alliances. It softened borders. It made powerful civilizations pause before judging. Humanity did not become rulers of the stars. They became something better, trusted. Elias never left his farm. Visitors came, but he kept his life simple. He taught when asked. He listened when needed. He reminded everyone, human and alien, that kindness was not weakness and strength did not have to be loud. When he grew older, others took up the work. Farmers, medics, teachers, ordinary humans who carried the same quiet truth into the wider galaxy. And when new species asked who humanity was, the answer was never a list of achievements. It was a story. About a man who chose compassion when mockery was easier. About a girl who learned that mercy could exist without command. And about a moment when laughter died, not because it was crushed, but because it was wrong. The universe remembered, and it shut up.